Hey guys, it's Paradise, and I have 2-6 here with me today because the talk of the town lately has been if there's no Elder Dragons in Monster Hunter Wilds. This is of course following various interviews after Tokyo Game Show where the devs, or specifically Tokada, commented on this. And this combined with the fact that there's this sort of long extinct species of monster like Arekkz, the flagship, has everyone talking. You know, will there be Elder Dragons? Is there a new classification? Overall, we've got 3 ideas of what these may be, but 2-6, you wanted to say something quickly, right?
Yeah, when it comes down to the videos yesterday, I didn't expect that so many people would be so up in arms about it, by the way. But guys, when it comes to YouTube and titles and stuff like that, if you see some stuff out there and it's got a little question mark, like yesterday people got so mad that it was like no Elder Dragons in the title. It was a question. It was more like, no Elder Dragons? The possibility of no Elder Dragons? No Elder Dragons? And people were like, there's 100% no Elder Dragons. We're going to discuss it today, what the options are and the possibilities of everything to deal with that. And it's going to be a little bit of a fun discussion. But guys, I don't know why YouTube's been out for like 16 plus years or whatever, and people are still getting irritated not watching the full video without any context. So let's go through it and discuss everything about the old Elder Dragons and if they're going to be in Wilds. Probably right.
I mean, let's be real. They probably will be at least 1 or 2, and then we usually get title updates or expansions and stuff like that. But we'll go through our sort of ideas and our look. There's 3 ideas that we have that I think are obvious. One, and we'll explore each one. One is if there's no Elder Dragons at all. Seems unlikely, but we can talk about that. 2, if there's some Elder Dragons in the game. Probably the most likely scenario. And 3, if Elder Dragon type monsters just aren't called Elder Dragons in Wilds, which I think is a fun one to explore as well with this new classification or extinct species that we now know of with something like Arekkz. And let's just jump into it, because this all stemmed from interviews with Tokada basically being asked if there will be Elder Dragons. And what we've noticed is across different sources and depending on who's translated it, the answer's actually quite different, right, 2-6?
Yeah, definitely. In the original one, if you translate it just using the raw Google Translate, or you look on the actual Reddit post that originally had like some of this stuff, the Reddit post that had some of this information, then it makes it seem like there's room for no Elder Dragons. But if you use other tools, it makes it seem like he's more talking about the themes that have been revealed so far in the ongoing pre-release coverage, essentially, because it talks about how the themes of the game are now for the man versus nature, and they're more focused on that, and they haven't revealed everything yet, but later on in the preview stages they will be revealing more monsters, and they've already said that there's going to be a plethora of different variety of monsters, and that added with a bunch of other stuff makes it seem like they're just not ready to essentially reveal Elder Dragons, while the other one is like, yeah, Elder Dragons, it's not the focus of the game at the moment. We're probably not going to be doing them and as much because we're focused on like the nature stuff as well. So it's such an interesting thing how the translation comes out and what the meanings are and how you what your comprehension of the thing that you're reading as well, because everybody's going to have a different takeaway from it, even if you're reading the same thing. It's just like when we make a video, right? People will just be like, oh yeah, you said this and you said that, but it's not exactly what we said. It's just what they've gone in with their mindset. So it's so interesting to see that's actually come out. But we'll go through some of your comments in this video and we'll talk about what we think is going to be the deal, right? So what's the 3 big ones that we have?
Well, just before that, I just want to touch on what an Elder Dragon is, because Monster Hunter has these different classifications of monsters that all share sort of a similar feature or archetype between them, whereas Elder Dragons are this class of monster that's unlike any other class and is distinct in of itself, in that it defies the typical classifications of other monsters, and they usually reside outside of a standard ecosystem because they're kind of so powerful that they don't fit in an ecosystem without completely like dominating it in some way. So regardless of what an Elder Dragon may look like, it doesn't actually have to look like a traditional dragon. They can still be an Elder Dragon if they're basically like a rare creature that's super powerful and lived in ancient times.
Kirin is a perfect example of that. Everyone forgets that Kirin is like a Elder Dragon that like trots around, and they always meme on that. But Elder Dragons are an interesting, like, overarching title for monsters, which is why when people are talking about this extinct species, this game could possibly not have Elder Dragons in it and then just focus on whatever Arekkz is that could be introducing another tier of monster that is a Elder Dragon threat level like monster basically, but isn't an Elder Dragon. Or they could just be expanding on the story now. They could just be telling the origins of where like Elder Dragons, or more, adding more to the lore of Elder Dragons, retconning the whole thing and calling Elder Dragons a completely different thing in this game. So it's a new game. They could just be doing a Capcom and putting the lore all over the place, because I know the lore guys are kind of have headaches when it comes to some of the monster lore, and they could just be messing around with like the whole thing and introducing a whole new concept to the world of Monster Hunter and the lore of Monster Hunter, which would be interesting, but I don't see them necessarily doing that. I feel like Arekkz is probably going to be its own thing that has its own mechanics and maybe its own class, because that is what had been hinted to in other interviews as well.
Yeah, let's dive into that as one of our... So again, our 3 points is sort of if there's no Elder Dragons, if there's some, or if their class is something different, right? So let's talk about if their class is something different, since that sort of segues into it quite well. So this is the interesting thing to me. So an Elder Dragon is like something that's lived since ancient times traditionally, and with Arekkz it's described as being like thought to have been long extinct. Ancient. So like, is Arekkz an ancient monster that, you know, that has just been thought to be extinct? So could it come out that Arekkz is an Elder Dragon, or that there's an additional monster from ancient times that differs from other Elder Dragons, which is what Arekkz maybe will come out to be? And if that is the case, and it'll be interesting to see how they explore this as an option, because if they are going to add a new classification of monster in, which, by the way, like Elder Dragons or not, getting a new classification of monster is actually really cool, and something that I'm excited about in Monster Hunter. It's really cool that there's just potentially something completely different. We haven't seen the mechanics that Arekkz can do. We don't know enough about Arekkz to know exactly what this new classification will even mean, right? But with that in mind, it may be that there's, you know, it could be a one-off, like you said. It could just be Arekkz is this sort of anomaly thought to be extinct monster, or it could be that they're going to be like, oh, now there's this new classification, and maybe there's going to be a few more of them in the game that will come to fight, and they might be like the big bad sort of stronger monsters in place of Elder Dragons. And what that, if you really look at it, what that kind of means is, if that is the case, hypothetically, there may be no Elder Dragons in this like theoretical scenario, but instead you've got like an equivalent monster that just has a different name. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely think that is a possibility, and even if that is the possibility that they go through, I don't foresee them like throwing away Elder Dragons completely. They'll probably bring them in title update 1. I like a lot of the Elder Dragons for Rise came in a title update as well, and a lot of them for World came in like title updates as well, so we can't necessarily rule out that whatever route that their Elder Dragons might be kind of few at launch, but then they're after launch, after they've added them in like title updates or even the expansion per se.
I feel obviously we don't know anything yet, it's too early, but I feel like that's just got to be a given. Like, like you look at the last ones, you just look at the track record, these Elder Dragons get added in later down the line when everyone's, or like a large proportion of people have finished the game and are ready to fight them. So just because like Teostra or Kashala and whatnot like aren't in the game at launch, which, you know, is a possibility, doesn't mean that they won't get added in, because like you can just look at literally like Rise that added them in a title update. And like, it makes sense for the flow of the game, right? You don't want to you want people to experience the story and the new monsters and the new big bad monster. If you look at like World, you had like Xeno'jiva. If you look at Rise, you had like Geismagorm. So whatever the big bad in this is, they want people to take their time, get through the story, beat it, and then they'll drop in those stronger monsters, and inevitably like a G-rank style expansion that we're kind of used to. So that's like the likely flow of things, right? But let's talk about if there's just no Elder Dragons, because when we look at the again, I'm not sure like who translated the stuff, but if we look at like the Reddit translation of the quote from Takeda, it basically says, at this point it's difficult to reveal what types of monsters will appear, and since it's not essential to have elder dragons for the game's theme, we decided in development what types of monsters we would include. And that really does sort of make you think, oh, they've decided that the game doesn't need elder dragons, right?
Yeah, no, 100% it does sound like that. It's wording in a definitive way, but it also says focus, so it leaves room open to what that interpretation could be. I saw people saying, oh yeah, it just means that they're gonna not include it in the story. That's not what the quote says. It just literally says it wasn't the focus of the game as a whole. And people were like, oh yeah, there's 100% going to be elder dragons. We at the moment actually don't know anything because they haven't revealed anything about that. So these are all assumptions, and we can go with a likely outcome of, yeah, there'll probably be elder dragons, but I saw people in the comments on our video personally saying there's 100% going to be elder dragons. We don't know what they're going to do. They could try and mix it up because they're going for a story heavy focus this time with everything. We know that the story of Monster Hunter has been pretty cookie cutter. It's like, there's a village. The village is being attacked by some monster for some unknown reason. We fight the monster. Halfway through the game, it's like the flagship. Then the flagship goes and like runs away. Then we find out there's a bigger monster that we need to take down. After taking down the flagship for like a second time, we go to take down the monster. Happy days, clap, clap, clap. DLC comes along, ends. The game ends 2 years later, basically, with Fatalis that we have to fight. Rise didn't end with Fatalis, it ended with like, is it Amaterasu? I can't remember what his name is. Amatsu. But,
yeah. Well, let's pull up Michal's comment, which was one of the highest comments on the video, which is, it's kind of a funny one. It says, no elder dragons. Oh, absolutely, we will not have a super evil demon monster being a true endgame villain every time.
Yeah, it's 100%.
It's the perfect analogy, right? Like, obviously there's going to be some super big bad monster that we have to take down. But I like the way he's worded it here, because it's like, it could technically not be an elder dragon and still be the super big bad evil villain of the game, you know?
Yeah, no, 100%. I definitely agree with that. I feel like it's something that we said a number of times in the game. It's just scale. Looks like it's going to be the big thing in this game, so I'm expecting some massive monster. You can even see in the Arekkz image on the actual cover art that there's probably something behind it or whatever that's like controlling Arekkz as well that looks even bigger. So hopefully they have like some really cool fights. I'm hoping that Jen Moran comes back and all of those like 4U and 3U monsters and all the sandboat like fights like come back, and even is it Lao Shang, the one from like the original the slow dragon. So it'll be cool. It'll be cool if they have like these larger monsters that are there and all of the elder dragons that we're used to. Get Teostra, because Teostra's just annoying. Everybody else is invited. But yeah.
Yeah, let's just go back to Arekkz real quick, because I just want to touch on that splash art for the box art or whatever it was with all the chains on Arekkz. And I think it's an interesting idea to think that the chains could be symbolic of like puppeteering, right? So is he locked away, or is he, you know, being puppeteered or restrained or controlled? It's an interesting sort of thing to think about. And it'll be fun to see what actually happens and then to see what theories are correct. But let's talk about the story as well, because this is heavily linked to the story for Wilds, which is obviously very different from Worlds. So if we look at Demon Timing 1995's comment, he basically says, the amount of people crying about no elder dragons need to calm down, as the devs have confirmed that unlike World, which has a story focus on exploring the new world and uncovering why elder dragons were making the journey to that mysterious place, Wilds has a different theme focused on the environmental effects of the monsters and the people of the Forbidden Lands, but for everything we've seen so far, it's mostly early, low rank and beginner tier stuff, and elder dragons are mostly reserved for high rank endgame, including like Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, excluding Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, where they had elders in low rank due to that game being like an anniversary spin-off. So I think this is 335 likes. This is a very high rated comment, and this is like probably the most sensible comment that I've seen, and I think hits the nail on the head. Like, it's a different story. And if you think back to World was all about like Nergigante being this like elder dragon hunter, and the elder dragons were like messing up the ecosystem, and you had to like chase them down. And Nergigante even had those anti-hero moments where he actually helped you clap a few elder dragons. So that was the theme of the game, right? And in Wilds, the whole theme is about like the ecology and the keepers, you know? So it's a very different, and that's what I think Tokuda was talking about in these translations. He's basically saying, look, the theme for World was all about elder dragons, and Wilds isn't all about elder dragons. But that doesn't mean there's only no elder dragons completely, you know?
Yeah, it is interesting that they just didn't come out and just say like, oh yeah, this is Outguild and this is what it is. Meaning that there is some type of thing that they're withholding, or some cool type of information that they are waiting to reveal for us to find out. And usually it's like, that information is like, oh, this monster is the Hello Kitty 500 species type and whatever. And then you're just like, okay, cool. I hope there's more Hello Kitty 500s to fight. And then you fight them, and you've got like their own sick, like unique mechanic or whatever. So yeah.
Tuesdays, I just want you to touch on this because it's related to the comment as well, and I think you got your head wrapped around this.
Yeah.
Where it's basically pointing out that like we've seen like early low rank stuff, like we've seen Chatacabra, the beginning zone of the Windsward Plains. Yes, we've seen 2 apexes now, but we're talking about the first 2 locales of possibly what we're expecting to be 5 locales. And the sort of monsters we've seen so far, and even fought for ourselves having played it at Gamescom, they are beginner tier monsters, right? So tell me about why it's obvious that like Tokuda's not going to talk about Elder Dragons right now anyway.
Yeah, we're just so far from release, and things that's happened through beats in games in general. And until most of the locale of the game is revealed, like we didn't get the trailer for Elder Dragons until title update 1 was about to be released. So like a week before we got the reveal of that, and then we knew for Rise, I'm talking about. And then we knew that those monsters were coming. And then even after for like World, we got those like in trailers and streams afterwards. So they're probably just not ready to talk about that stuff. And obviously they want to pace players as well. So they're trying to introduce and onboard as many new players as possible so they can get from that 20 million sales, 25 million plus sales that they got with World and Iceborne up to that 30 million. So they want players to go through and have like a nice kind of learning what Monster Hunter is experience. That's what the story's there for. They've already said that the story is like a learning experience for people. And then afterwards, they'll start talking about the big boy. So if anybody's worried about not having the big boy threats to like fight, they will probably be there, but it just needs to cycle up. You guys know this. I don't know why it has to be explained. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, you know, everyone's got a different take on this topic. And like, admittedly, the different translations do make it difficult to like come to a conclusion. But I think the best thing to do is look at the track record of the past games and, you know, what you can really expect. And ultimately, like, if they're just going to call Elder Dragon tier monsters like extinct species or something else, then it's just a title, you know, really.
Yeah.
But let's bring up Chimera Kate's comment, which is another high comment, saying, all the people dooming in the comments about no Elder Dragons, forget these are translated. There will 100% be Elders, but they won't be the center of the narrative like in Worlds. The environment and the weather seems to be center stage here. He goes on to say that there was like a more limited amount of monster variety in World, and hopefully in Wilds, there's going to be more variety, and we can kind of see that with like Lala Barina. Maybe we're going to get more Leviathans as well, and that kind of stuff. So I will say I wouldn't back the 100% because that leaves no room for possibilities of them not being there, just in case they aren't there or there's different classifications for them. But I think he's right in that the narrative of World was obviously focused on the Elder Dragons, whereas this one isn't. But let's put this in the bracket of one of the ideas we had, which is that there might be some Elders in the game. So if the translations aren't completely correct, I think it's possible that there might be like 1 or 2 Elder Dragons. Maybe it might be the boss we fight at the end or something like that. I wouldn't rule that out as a possibility, right?
There's been information from unofficial sources, if you get what I'm saying, that kind of hints to what is going to appear in the game. So I don't know, just using our own intellect and just understanding of like Monster Hunter, you can probably feel like there is going to be Elder Dragons, but they're probably not going to be like the main focus, and they're probably going to come after launch. Is like my conclusion to like everything in there. I feel like there will be Elder Dragons, or if there isn't Elder Dragons, as we're saying, it's just literally just going to be another like title Elder Dragon, and we've already seen Artveld. I'm ready to fight Artveld. Artveld looks exciting.
He does. I think the most likely possibility is there will either be some Elder Dragons or they'll come after launch, like you've said. I think it's kind of unlikely that there'll be none, and if that is the case, like we've said a few times, I think they'll just be classed as this new classification of monster. So either way, we're going to be fighting that level of a monster, and it's going to be probably the big bad or one of the big bads in the game. I don't know. I just feel like even if Elder Dragons aren't in the game, they're just going to be coming later down the line. So even if they're not in the game, I'm personally not going to be upset, because it seems like it's highly, highly likely that they will be in the game at some point, even if it's not a launch, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think one of the big takeaways from this, guys, is it's like we just don't know enough about the game at the moment to get so like aggravated about it, basically. And that comes down to not even just this topic. I've seen it across the board for, I know you guys are passionate about certain things, but like sometimes I'll sit down and I look at the comments across not our videos but just Monster Hunter videos in general, and people really getting like antsy about stuff, or even like YouTube titles, right? In a way, and it's just like, we're not even there. The game's not even out yet. We need to kind of really just wait for a couple of things to like drop and develop enough for us to like information to be revealed before we get really, really upset in a way. I can understand if the game is launched. I think getting upset about the performance beforehand is definitely a useful one, because it informs Capcom that they need to like pick up their trousers and kind of really kick into gear and get the performance ready. That's like really good ones. But getting riled up about story stuff that we don't even know, and just because of like a YouTube title, surely there's a lot of you that just see YouTube titles and just like you understand like what the deal is there, and you're just like, okay, cool, it's fine. And you watch the video and you're just like, okay, cool, I understand it now.
You know what? I will say that I have not watched like all of the other creators' content on this topic, so I'm not sure like what the sentiment out there is. Maybe that's playing a part in it.
Yeah.
And like you say, it's really cool to see so many people are passionate about Monster Hunter and they really want their Elder Dragons. But for some people, it's like their clan got insulted. You know what I mean? It's like, look, there's gonna be big bad monsters, and if there isn't, we're gonna get some cool new class of monster like whatever Arkkveld is, and they're probably gonna be added in later down the line. So I don't know. It's just really interesting seeing the sort of mix of things. But hopefully, us going over these different possibilities and ideas and the different translations and what an Elder Dragon is and all that kind of stuff just is a good bit of food for thought for people. Since it's like you say, the talk of the town right now, and some people are very upset, and other people just don't care. So it's an interesting spread, isn't it?
Yeah, so you know what it is. It's just exciting that Monster Hunter has like got all these like little discussions. Even when we're just talking about Elder Dragons, everyone's like, I want my Elder Dragons back and everything. It's like there was a time when it kind of like died down a little bit there, and now we're back. Wild hype is building up. It looks like we've got some sick game on our hands, aside from the performance at the moment. Next year's gonna be good. Who's excited? I'm excited.
That's just that. I'm mega excited. I want to know. I want to know what this classification of monster is. We played the game as well, and we know it's just fun to play. So I just want to actually play it more. You know what it's like with those demos as well. Like when you just, because it's a demo, it's a limited time to play. But I just want to actually play and actually like have that progression. You know, I want to collect those monster parts and make those armor sets and all that kind of stuff. So it'll be fun when it comes out. But guys, hopefully you enjoyed that little chat going over this whole topic, because it is an interesting one, different translations and all that kind of stuff. And ultimately, Elder Dragons are some of the funnest monsters to fight, so it's definitely an interesting and important topic to go over. And make sure you are subscribed below, because we're going to have more videos on your favorite games and more Monster Hunter coming very, very soon.
Bye.